What's up, everyone? We are going to cover the Turkish Get-up today. I love the Turkish Get-up. Ask any of our athletes. They get it programmed a lot. And one of the reasons why I like it so much is it ties a lot of movements together. So we can use it as strength, we can use it as warm-up, we can use it as an assessment. It serves a lot of purposes. But I also understand that there are a lot of movements that get tied together, so it can be a little bit of there's a little bit of an intimidation factor with it. So we're going to break everything down move by move today and hopefully take away a little bit of that intimidation factor so you learn to love it as much as I do. So first thing that we're going to do is just start you on the floor and look at our setup position. So our setup position, I'm just angled to the side, and I'll move around a little bit so you can see, but the right leg for starting with our right arm, our right knee is going to be up, slightly out at an angle, and that heel is going to match up with the glute, and our other leg's going to start out at the side. Okay, so if I'm starting on my left, I'm just going to switch my legs out and see that angle there. Okay, so the first move we're going to have is a roll to elbow. So I want this move to start through the hip and drive out this way. A lot of times you'll see people come up and try to turn this into a crunch, but we don't want to use our abs to get into flexion. We actually want this to be an anti-rotation. So I'm going to roll, pull to my elbow. So from this position, I've got really good lat engagement. I don't want to be sinking into my shoulder. I'm going to be pushing myself away from the floor, tall through this hand. I'm going to then push myself away. Okay, again, I'm going to drive through and go through. So just to troubleshoot, I think a lot of times people, when they start that roll, they'll see that kick coming up. What we want to do with that roll is I want to imagine driving this heel out. So as I roll, I'm going to push that foot directly out. So our next move from here is going to get to what we call the tall seated position. So I like to just take my hand back and get into that tall seated. Again, I'm not sinking into it. I'm not dumping that shoulder forward. I'm nice and tall. And my eyes are going to stay straight to the ceiling. Okay, so to reverse everything, I'm going to slide that arm out, back down to the elbow, and I'm going to come back down. So I'm going to come right back up into that tall seated position with two moves. We have the roll, pull to elbow, and then the tall seated position. From here, we're going to get into a low sweep. So sometimes we'll see that high bridge. For these, we're just going to low sweep. So I'm going to bring this foot back. And this is a very important part of the get-up. We want to try to keep the hand, knee, and foot in line or close to it. So I'm just going to move my hand back here and get right back into that position. So I'm going to sit back through, down to the elbow, down to the floor. Okay, we'll go one more time all through three of those. Roll, pull to elbow, tall seated, and low sweep. So now I'm into that half kneeling windmill, and this time my hand, knee, and foot are all in the same line. And from here, it's really basic. All I do is rock back into my heel and come up nice and tall. Now we've got two options here. If you're on a softer surface like I am, you can windshield wipe the back foot. Okay? If you're on a tougher surface, all you have to do is just close the gate. Okay, so again, we're open, and that half open, half kneeling, and then I'm going to swing that hip closed. And then from here, it's nice and easy. If you need to make an adjustment with that foot, make an adjustment and stand up. Okay, so we're going to work our way back down here. Half kneel, and again, repeat the way that you came up. So if we opened up the gate, that's fine. If you windshield wipe, just windshield wipe. So I'm going to open up the gate. Now from here, my off hand, I like to cue into the hip. So I'm going to chop, so I sit back towards my heel. That way I can just follow the path of my thigh and my hand's right in line. Okay, so to come back up, half open. When we're doing this with weight, at this point, our eyes are going to go back up to the weight. I'm going to hinge. Hand comes out. Sit through into our tall seated, back down to our elbow, and then here I'm going to push away. So push. We're right back down into our starting position. Okay, so we're going to tie this together. I'm going to go on to the other side. Right side this time, and we're going to flow through a little bit quicker, just through each key. So we're going to start right arm in the air, left leg out at an angle, left arm out at a matching angle. I'm going to roll, pull. Tall seated. I'm going to make a small adjustment with my foot into our half open windmill, hinge back into our half open, half kneeling, close the gate, stand up, step back, and now my eyes are going to go up to the weight, open up the gate, hinge, hand down, sit through to tall seated, back down to my elbow, and I will push away. So those are the basics of the get-up. All of those movements tied together into one flow. Before we move to weight, we want to make sure that we have control of the movement, because this is not about the weight, it's actually about your movement underneath the weight. So what we like to do to advance this is to take a yoga block. If we don't have a yoga block, shoes work really, really well because we're going to balance them on our fists. We don't want to try to get that thumb out. We're just going to balance one. So since not everyone has a yoga block, we're going to get rid of that. And we're going to do one with our fist. Failure is okay on here, and failure would be that shoe or sandal falling, because that's going to give you some feedback in terms of where our body is moving and what's happening underneath the shoe. So I'm going to roll, pull the elbow, and again, my eyes are focused up, tall seated. Into our windmill, rock back, into our open half kneel. Now my eyes go forward. I'm going to close the gate, step up. So now on our way back down, I'm going to come very slowly, look up, open, hinge, get down to the half open windmill, sit through, tall seated, down to the elbow, and again, rather than collapsing underneath, I'm going to push away. Not too bad for the first shot. What we'll see a lot of times on the way up or down is in that half open windmill. So here, tall seated, and underneath. That's going to give us that feedback that we need to stay tall on that arm underneath. So if you're losing it there, or another place we'll see some feedback is here, where people are going forward and then trying to flex that wrist. Making sure that, again, this goes straight up and we're moving underneath the sandal. A little bit of knee collapse is fine. We just want to make sure that we're aware of it and we take it back out. So if we were to move on to a weight, and I've got a 24 kilo kettlebell here, we have to understand two things. One, again, it's not about the weight, it's about us moving underneath the weight. And two, the weight and gravity are undefeated. So we want to make sure that we have complete control of the bell as we're moving around underneath it. So my first move is going to be, how do we pick up the bell? Well, I'm going to roll to my side into the fetal position, take my hand underneath it, get a good grasp, and roll onto my belly. From here, I'll use both hands to press, making sure that it's in a good position. Take my leg out, and then arm and leg go with. So to move underneath the bell, I'm going to push, pull to my elbow. Tall seated. I'll make that small adjustment with my knee into my half open windmill, rock back into my half kneeling open position. Close the gate, abs are tight, tension on the other hand, step up, step back. Open up the gate, find the bell, hinge back, reach forward, sit through, active shoulders, down to the elbow, push away. And then bring the bell down and fetal position. The bell will take you back down to the floor. So as smooth as that looks, we just want to make sure that we have control underneath the bell and work the way up. Practice a lot with body weight, practice a lot with the shoe, practice a lot with the yoga blocks as you have them. Cups of water work great. You don't want to spill those. And then we'll work our way to the bell. Give these a try, practice a lot. See you soon.